Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Yeah, welcome back to Battles of the American Civil War with your host, Bang and Dang.
War's been over with for about 2 years now. Now it's a political war.
Well, this is one last hurrah for the Confederates, and especially for the Army of Virginia, because this is the last win for Robert E. Lee's army in the whole war, this battle right here, which is the Battle of Cold Harbor. And
Union's as far as close as 6 miles from Richmond. It's crazy. That's close to a capital of a country you're trying to conquer.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure later on here, Drew Bo Early is going to get like within 2 or 3 miles of Washington coming up. But yeah, this is the last major or last battle ever of the actual army of Northern Virginia that they won in the whole war. And from here on out, after this battle, Robert E. Lee never launches another attack or an offensive. He's on the defensive, pretty much defending Richmond the rest of the war because they know they're all fucked. And but after this battle, though, Ulysses S. Grant took a nice little publicity hit because, as we'll read on, this battle is known as history's most unnecessary and lopsided battles.
Oh, wow.
Because it didn't need to happen of what happened, and literally like fucking 10-1 casualties compared from the Union to the Confederates right here. So, and we're talking about Cold Harbor, which is near Mechanicsville, Virginia, which took place May 31st to June 12th, 1864, with the stupidest day being June 3rd, which was most of the action happened.
Dude, Grant was just his head was just too big. He knew that it was over with, and he was like, if we can just do one major assault, we can do it now and get it over with.
Not only that, we're going to see again, we say this every single episode, and we see it every single episode, is people getting lost when they're marching somewhere, orders not getting communicated directly, people not wanting to send reinforcements, and just the most ignorant shit, dude. Just stupid shit. Stupid shit that could be all avoided, but it's all dumb. But before we get into all that nonsense, go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. We post shorts, clips, full episodes, plus our YouTube exclusive Dart League. If you listen on Spotify, Apple, give us a recommendation, give us a review, share with your fans, and a recommendation, right? That's what share with your friends is. But and answer that Spotify question. Also, you guys want to talk about this episode, the Civil War in general, history in general, or any of our other podcasts, go join our Discord channel.
Right.
And that'll be in the what do we call that? The description of this episode. We can chat.
No question will be left unanswered.
Yeah, anything goes over there. So you guys, whatever you guys want to talk about, we got a lot of, I guess, channels they're called in our Discord page. So whatever you guys want to talk about, join it. Be in the description.
And we can take the heat, man, so don't be scared.
And then, yeah, let's get into this because this is going to be a long one. The only battle of the day, Cold Harbor. We're going to take a little look at, in case you guys didn't listen to the past episodes, we've been on the Overland Campaign for quite some time now. And we're going to take a little kind of recap of that before we get into the actual battle, which is Grant's Overland Campaign, which is one of a series of simultaneous offensive that the newly appointed General-in-Chief launched against the Confederacy. He did. By late May 1864, only 2 of these continued to advance, which is Major General William T. Sherman's Atlanta Campaign, which is ongoing, and this Overland Campaign, in which Grant accompanied and directly supervised the Army of the Potomac and its commander, Major General George Meade, which I'm sure he was thrilled. Grant's campaign objective was not the Confederate capital, Richmond, but he simply wanted to destroy Lee's army.
Right.
He said, we've had enough of this guy.
Richmond.
Tired of running around and running and retreating every time.
Oh, Richmond is Lee's army, pretty much. You get Lee's army, you get Richmond.
Well, right. Well,
Jefferson Davis got to have his bags packed and ready to boast it out.
I guarantee he's ready, like,
He got his
within a moment's notice.
What's it called? The shit hits the fan or the bug out? He got his bug out bag. Ready to row. And his dumbass don't even go that far when he does run. Ready to go to like Georgia or something.
No, he leaves the country.
Does he?
And he goes somewhere, and then he comes back, and then he got pardoned anyways.
Everybody did.
And then his wife left him, and then he literally died, penniless, old, miserable man that nobody cared about.
He shouldn't have even been president of the South.
All right, he did nothing. I mean, what can you do?
Right.
You're a nation that was formed in war.
Right. Can't build roads when you're blowing them up.
Can't fix those damn potholes.
We're gonna fix these damn roads. We're gonna have lower emissions on our horses.
Right.
President Abraham Lincoln long advocated this strategy for his generals, the strategy of taking Lee out, not Richmond, recognizing that the city would certainly fall after loss of its principal defensive army.
Right.
Come on, makes sense. Grant ordered General Meade. He said, "Wherever Lee goes, there you'll go also."
Wherever Lee goes, you can go too.
Right. We got a Mariah Carey song or something, and then what it was?
Huh?
Wherever I go
I will follow. I'll be there.
with you or something. Oh, just call my name.
And I'll be there. Don't you know, baby? Yeah, that's Jackson 5, buddy.
I'll be there. And then Brian Adams.
Somebody sang it, yeah.
sang the other one.
Which one?
I don't know. Anyhow, although we hope for a quick, decisive battle.
Oh, come on, Grant. We know that's not happening.
All right, Grant, as drunk as he was, he prepared to fight a war of attrition. Both Union and no Rebs casualties could be very, very high.
Oh, and they would.
But the Blue Coats had greater resources to replace lost soldiers.
Yes, they're the
And
Russian army.
They can also replace equipment.
May 5th, after Grant's army crossed the Rapidan River and entered the wilderness of Spotsylvania, it was attacked by Lee's army of Northern Virginia. Although Lee was outnumbered 60,000 to 100,000, his men fought fiercely, and the dense foliage provided a terrain advantage. After 2 days of fighting and almost 29,000 casualties between the two, the results are inconclusive, and neither army was able to obtain an advantage. That's the whole Overland Campaign so far.
Pretty much.
Lee had stopped Grant, but had not turned him back. Grant, on the other hand, had not destroyed Lee's army either. So
Lee's not getting out in the open.
that's where that's where Grant wanted him.
Right, and Lee's not doing that, and the Confederates are way better at fighting in the thickets than the old Bluecoats.
Well, except for they've now got 2 of their men killed by fighting in the thickets. It's
true.
2 of their best men.
Yeah. The war started going downhill after Old Stonewall hit the brakes.
About that.
It did. And then especially when old Jib, that guy was basically a non-factor anyway.
I mean, he was a good cavalry guy, but
Some bitch was in New Mexico with the senoritas. What are you supposed to be doing? I'm doing a reconnaissance of the...
like I'm riding around the countryside looking for Lee. They're like, dude, you know you're in France, right?
Damn, I don't know why that boat ride was so long. I thought the current on the old Mississippi slow today.
I thought the old Rapidan River didn't think it was this wide.
Oh, shit. Under similar circumstances, previous Union commanders had chosen to withdraw behind the Rappahannock.
Yeah.
But old Ulysses S. Grant, he instead ordered Meade to move around Lee's right and seize the important crossroads at Spotsylvania Courthouse to the southeast, hoping that by interposing his army between Lee and Richmond, he could lure old Rebs into another battle on a more favorable field.
That's what he hoped.
He's looking for that. He's looking for that glade.
He just wants nice open fields.
Right.
That way his artillery obviously can...
Oh, dude.
His artillery is not very effective if you're battling in thickets.
If Grant can get his artillery on Lee, dude, it's over. That's some bad stuff right there. Elements of Lee's army, they beat the Union army to the critical crossroads of Spotsylvania Courthouse.
They did.
They began entrenching, a tactic that became increasingly essential for the outnumbered defenders.
Yeah, it's pretty much all they do for the rest of the war is entrench and defend.
Yep, might as well take out ankles.
Right. Meade was dissatisfied with Major General Philip Sheridan's Union cavalry's performance and released it from its reconnaissance and screening duties for the main body of the army to pursue and defeat the Confederate cavalry under Major General Jeb Stuart. Sheridan's men mortally wounded Stewart in a tactically inconclusive battle of Yellow Tavern.
That was Stewart's fault. Stewart's an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, when you're just sitting there in front of all these retreating soldiers. I mean,
Like, they're not going to shoot me. I'm a general.
Right.
And when the guy turns around and is like, hey, yo, Jeb.
General this. And then continued their raid, they did, towards Richmond, leaving Grant and Meade without the eyes and ears of their cavalry.
Well, look at Jackson's dumbass. Marching down he rode up on the marching line of that one brigade of the Union.
Yeah,
Riding alongside of him for
Yeah, but,
a while.
but he did that on purpose.
Right.
But they didn't recognize him.
Freaking nuts.
And then he goes and gets killed in the darkness in the
Right,
middle
by
of
his
the
own
woods.
guy.
Like a bunch of idiots.
Man. Near Spotsylvania Courthouse, fighting occurred on and off through May 8th to the 21st of May. Grant tried various schemes to break the old rebel line, but no avail. 8th of May, Union Major General Gouverneur Warren and John Sedgwick, where's he been?
Here, clearly.
Right, unsuccessfully attempted to dislodge the old Rebs under Major General Richard Anderson from Laurel Hill, a position that was blocking them from Spotsylvania Courthouse. 10th of May, Grant ordered attacks across the old Rebel line earthworks, which now extended over 4 miles, including a prominent salient known as the Mule Shoe. Although the old Blue Coats failed to gain at Laurel Hill, an initiative assault against Emery Upton.
Innovative, yeah.
Right? It was initiative. An innovative assault attempt by Colonel Emery Upton against the Mule Shoe showed promise.
Yeah, Grant eased Upson's assault technique on a much larger scale, or used his assault technique on a much larger scale on May 12th when he ordered 15,000 men in Major General Winfield Hancock's corps to assault the Mule Shoe. Hancock was initially successful, but the Confederate leadership rallied and repulsed his incursion.
Right.
Attacks by Major General Horatio Wright on the western edge of the Mule Shoe, which became known as the Bloody Angle, involved almost 24 hours of desperate hand-to-hand fighting, some of the most intense of the Civil War. Supporting attacks by Warren and Major General Ambrose Burnside were unsuccessful. In the end, the battle was tactically inconclusive, but with almost 32,000 casualties on both sides, it was the costliest battle of the campaign.
Sure the hell was.
Dude, they're just... already, between the two ones that we've mentioned, we got 60,000 casualties.
Right.
That is just crazy.
Right. And most of them will die either next week or a couple months or
Gangrene or something from getting their shit chopped off or something, right?
Grant planned to end the stalemate once and for all by again shifting around Lee's right flank to the southeast toward Richmond.
He just wants to turn that right flank, doesn't he?
All right. Oh, Ulysses S. Grant and his whiskey bottle with him. The objective following Spotsylvania was the North Anna River.
At this point, would it be a whiskey bottle? I mean, I'm sure if I was him, I'd have a couple kegs or something, right?
Maybe.
A couple barrels.
Right. This is about 25 miles south. He sent Hancock's corps ahead of his army, hoping that Lee would attack it, luring him into the open. Yeah, you keep on hoping. Mm-hmm. Lee did not take the bait, and he beat Grant to North Anna. 23rd of May, Warren's 5th Corps crossed the river at Jericho Mills, fighting off attack by A.P. Hill's Corps, while Hancock's 2nd Corps captured the bridge on the Telegraph Road.
Yeah, well, just then, Lee devised a plan which represented a significant potential threat to Grant. It was a 5-mile line that formed an inverted V shape.
Ducks fly together, baby.
With its apex on the river at Oxford, the only defensible crossing in the area. By moving south of the river, Lee hoped that Grant would assume that he was retreating, leaving only a token force to prevent a crossing at Oxford. If Grant pursued, the pointed wedge of the inverted V would split his army, and Lee would concentrate on interior lines to defeat one wing. The other Union wing would have to cross the North Anna twice to support the attacked wing. Union Army assaulted the tip of the apex, though, at Oxford and the right wing of the V. Right wing of the V? Yeah.
Fantastic.
So they didn't take the bait.
No. However.
Well, they kind of did, but
right.
Didn't work.
Well, we all know that Lee, he was stuck in his tent, shitting his pants because he had diarrhea. He drank some bad water.
You can't be drinking that bad water. You got to boil that shit, man.
He could not even affect the attack he hoped to make. He was like, man, tried. Grant realized the situation was faced with, and he ordered his men to stop advancing to build earthworks.
Hey, hunker down, boys. We're right here.
Right. The Union general remained optimistic and was convinced that old Lee had demonstrated the weakness of his army. I don't think Lee knows what's going on right now. He wrote to the Army's Chief of Staff, Major General Halleck, Lee's army is really whipped. I may be mistaken, but I feel that our success over Lee's army is already assured.
Well, I mean, it is. It just won't happen for like another year.
Right.
As he did after the Wilderness End, Spotsylvania, Grant planned another wide swing around Lee's flank, marching east of the Pamunkey River to screen his movements from the Confederates. His army disengaged on May 27th and crossed the river. Lee moved his army swiftly in response, heading for Atlee Station on the Virginia Central Railroad, a point only 9 miles north of Richmond. There, his men would be well positioned behind a stream known as the Totopotomoy Creek, and used it to defend against Grant if he moved against the railroads or Richmond. Lee was not certain of Grant's specific plans, however. If Grant was not intending to cross the Pamunkey and force a Hanover Town, the Union Army could outflank him and head directly to Richmond.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's kind of in a little pickle here.
Right.
He's like, you better defend your position right there, because this is the make or break time of the war. They get around you, you're fucked.
Over. Lee ordered cavalry under Major General Wade Hampton to make a reconnaissance in force, break through the Union cavalry screen, find the Union infantry. Well, you guys got a job ahead of you, boys.
Right.
28th of May, 1864. Hampton's troopers encountered Union cavalry under Brigadier General David
David Gregg, man. It's like McMillan or some shit.
David Gregg in the Battle of Hall Shot, which we did.
Just last episode.
Right. Fighting predominantly dismounted, utilizing earthworks for protection. Neither side achieved an advantage. The battle, inconclusive, as so many other battles we've had. But it was one of the bloodiest cavalry engagements of the war. Hampton held up to the Union cavalry for 7 hours, prevented it from achieving its reconnaissance objectives, and had provided valuable intelligence to Lee about the disposition of Grant's army.
They sure did. After Grant's infantry had crossed to the south bank of the Pamunkey, Lee saw an opportunity on May 30th to attack Warren's advancing 5th Corps with his 2nd Corps, now commanded by Lieutenant General Jubal Early. Early's divisions under Major Generals Robert E. Rhodes and Stephen Dotson Ramseur drove the Union troops back in the Battle of Bethesda Church, which was last episode. But Ramseur's advance was stopped by a fierce stand of infantry and artillery fire.
Artillery fire.
That same day, a small cavalry engagement at the Matadequin Creek, which was at the Battle of Old Church, drove an outnumbered Confederate cavalry brigade to the crossroads of Old Cold Harbor, verifying to Lee that Grant intended to move toward the vital intersection beyond Lee's right flank. Attempting to avoid another stalemate on the Totopotomoy Creek line. That's what Grant's trying to do here.
Right. Okay, Lee, you guys kind of know where you're going from here. Grant probably knows that Lee knows by now, but you still gotta
go.
Gotta toe the road, right? What do they say?
Toe the line, maybe?
Sure.
I don't know. Sure.
Lee received notice that reinforcements were heading Grant's way from Bermuda 100. 16,000 men of Major General William F. Baldy Smith's 18th Corps, they were withdrawn from Major General Benjamin Butler's Army of James at Grant's request, just as Butler was planning a major effort to capture Petersburg.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get there, because the Lynchburg campaign is coming around with 2 Petersburg's battles. Siege of Petersburg, actually.
Right, and then the Battle of Petersburg or something.
And there's 2 of them.
Right. Well, Butler's corps was soon moving down the James River and up the York to the Pamunkey. If Smith moved due west from White House Landing to Old Cold Harbor, 3 miles southeast of Bethesda Church, on Grant's left flank, the extended federal line would be too far south for the old rebels to contain.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, Smith's men arrived at the White House, not that White House, May 30th through the 31st, but for the second time, they were ordered further up the Pamunkey to the New Castle and not to the west. 1 brigade was left behind on guard duty, but instead of the bulk of the corps joining Grant's army on June 1st, it only joined Wright's corps for offensive action about 3 p.m. after a needlessly long and quite exhausting march. Needlessly. Very early June 1st, for the 3rd time, orders went out for Smith to move his command to New Castle. Obviously a mistake. It was either made by General Grant or the member of his staff to whom he gave the order for transmission. So, they try to bail Grant out a lot, I've noticed. Like, it's not his fault. He got lost in translation. Or get out of here.
Ridiculous. Lee also received reinforcements. Confederate President Jefferson Davis directed General P.G.T. Beauregard to send a division of Major General Robert F. Hoke, 7,000 men he had. That they were just below the James River. So you go get those mofos. The first troops of Hoke's division arrived at Old Cold Harbor on the 31st of May, but they were unable to prevent Bluecoats from seizing the intersection. The old Bluecoat cavalry, unmounted.
I don't think they're unmounted.
With these additional troops, and by managing to replace many of his 20,000 casualties, At that point in the campaign, Lee's Army of Virginia had 59,000 men to contend with Meade's and Grant's 108. And you can get more anywhere.
Right, but the disparity in numbers was no longer what it had been. Grant's reinforcements were often raw recruits and heavy artillery troops pulled from the defenses of Washington, who were relatively inexperienced in infantry tactics, while most of Lee's men had been veterans moved from inactive fronts and who were soon entrenched in impressive fortifications. Yeah. So you got a little bit of skill on your side, plus these guys are entrenched. What are you going to do?
Wow.
You need to get blown away. That's what you're going to get.
Right. Grant's Union forces totaled approximately 108,000, as we said. Consisted of the Army of Potomac under General George Meade, the 18th Corps on temporary assignment from the Army of the James. The 6 corps were 2nd Corps, 5th Corps, the 6th Corps, the 9th Corps, and you had cavalry corps under General Sheridan. And then you had the 18th Corps, which is Baldy Smith, Major General. And all their brigadiers and colonels, the Burnsides, the Wilcoxes, the
of the like.
the Martindales.
Like we mentioned, the Confederates had about 59,000 and was organized into 4 corps and 2 independent divisions. In the 1st Corps, Richard Anderson, 2nd Corps, Jubal Early, 3rd Corps, A.P. Hill, Cavalry Corps, without a commander following Jeb Stuart's death, Breckinridge's division, which was Breckinridge, and Hoke's division, which was Hoke. The battle was fought in central Virginia in what is now Mechanicsville over the same ground as the Battle of Gaines' Mill during the 7 Days Battles of 1862.
No shit.
Some accounts refer to the 1862 battle as the first Battle of Cold Harbor and this one as the second one, but that's not what it is. Union soldiers were disturbed to discover skeletal remains from the first battle while entrenching.
Oh, no shit.
Cold Harbor was not a port city despite its name. Rather, it described 2 rural crossroads named for the Cold Harbor Tavern, owned by the Isaac Burnett family, which provided shelter, which is harbor, but had no hot meals. Oh. How are you going to have no Cold Harbor? So, no, yeah, I get it. You can sleep, but you ain't getting no food. You better have some horse tack or something, right?
Kidding, right. We got some peaches in a can.
Right, maybe. I don't even know if they canned peaches back then.
Right. Old Cold Harbor stood 2 miles east of Gaines' Mill. New Cold Harbor, a mile southeast. Both approximately 10 miles northeast of Richmond, capital of the old rebels. Obviously.
Right.
From these crossroads, the Union Army was positioned to receive reinforcements, sailing up the Pamunkey River.
Ooh.
And could attack either the old rebel capital or its Army of Northern Virginia. Oh, wow.
How about both?
Right.
Moving on to the actions of May 31st, the cavalry forces that had fought at Old Church, which was last episode, continued to face each other on May 31st as well. Lee sent a cavalry division under Major General Fitzhugh Lee to reinforce Brigadier General Matthew Butler that secured the crossroads at Old Cold Harbor. Union Brigadier General Alfred T.A. Torbert increased pressure on the Confederates. Robert A. Lee, in the meantime, ordered Anderson's 1st Corps to shift right from Totopotomoy Creek to support the cavalry. The lead brigade of Hoke's division also reached crossroads to join Butler and Fitzhugh Lee at 4 p.m. that day.
Oh, we got some moving around. Torbert and elements of the Brigadier General David Griggs cavalry. They drove the old Rebs from the old Cold Harbor crossroads and began to dig in. As more of Hoke's and Anderson's men streamed in, Union Cavalry Commander Major General Philip Sheridan became concerned and ordered Torbert to pull back toward Old Church. Grant continued his interest in Old Cold Harbor and then ordered Wright's 6th Corps to move in that direction from his right flank on Totopotomoy on the Totopotomoy Creek. He ordered Sheridan to return to the crossroads and secure it at all hazards.
Said you better fucking take it and you don't do nothing to lose it.
Torbert returned at 1 a.m. and was relieved to find that the old Rebs had failed to notice his previous withdrawal.
Well, good for him, huh? Moving on to June 1st, Robert E. Lee's plan for June 1st was to use his newly concentrated infantry against the small cavalry forces at Old Cold Harbor. But his subordinates did not coordinate correctly. Anderson did not integrate Hoke's division with his attack plan and left him with the understanding that he was not to assault until the 1st Corps attack was well underway. Because the Union defenders were disorganized as well. Wright's 6th Corps had not been moved out until after midnight and was on a 15-mile march. Smith's 18th Corps, having been mistakenly sent to the wrong location several miles away, did not reach Old Cold Harbor in time to assist Torbert.
Oh, shit.
Jeez, dude. Both armies are fucking idiots.
Right. Anderson led his attack with the brigade formerly commanded by veteran Brigadier General Joseph Kershaw, which was now under a less experienced South Carolina politician, Colonel Lawrence Key.
Yeah, see, this is the stupid thing about this, too. Dude has no experience in battle or war or even the military.
Right.
He's just a politician. He's like, I'm going to get in there.
Keats' men approached the entrenched cavalry of Brigadier General Wesley Merritt, armed with 7-shot Spencer repeating carbines. Merritt's men delivered heavy fire, mortally wounding Keat.
Well, bye.
And destroying his brigade's cohesion. Polk obeyed what he understood to be his orders and did not join the attack, which was quickly called back by Anderson.
I bet it was.
Look at old Keat coming in. Look at me, guys. Pew, 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 pew.
Not no more. By 9 a.m., Wright's lead elements arrived at the crossroads and began to extend and improve the entrenchments started by the cavalrymen. Although Grant had intended for Wright to attack immediately, his men were exhausted from their long march, and they were unsure as to the strength of the enemy as well. Like, dude, can we just rest? And plus, we got to keep digging these trenches and shit. Wright decided to wait until after Smith arrived, which occurred in the afternoon, and the 18th Corps men began to entrench on the right side of the 6th Corps. The Union cavalrymen retired to the east. Like, about damn time, man. We're doing this shit for 12 hours.
Right. For the coming attack, Meade was concerned that the corps of the Wright and Smith would not be sufficient, so he attempted to convince Warren to send reinforcements. He wrote to the...
What do you mean, attempted to convince Warren?
Right.
Motherfucker, you're the commander.
Right. He wrote to the 5th Corps commander, Generals Wright and Smith will attack this evening. It is very desirable you should join this attack, unless in your judgment it is impracticable.
I guess he would know more than Meade if it was capable, but...
And Warren's like, I don't think so. Warren decided to send the division of Brigadier General Henry Lockwood.
Henry Hot Lockwood.
Right. Which began to march at 6 p.m. No adequate reconnaissance of the road network had been conducted.
They don't know where the fuck they're going.
Lockwood was not able to reach the impending battle in time to make a difference anyhow.
Jeez. Well, Meade was also concerned about his left flank, which was not anchored on the Chickahominy and was potentially threatened by Fitzhugh-Lee's cavalry. He ordered Philip Sheridan to send scouting parties into the area, but Sheridan resisted, telling Meade that it would be impossible to move his men before dark. Right. 6:30 p.m., the attack that Grant had ordered for the morning finally began. Jeez. Both Wright's and Smith's corps moved forward. Wright's men made little progress south of the Mechanicsville Road, which connected New and Old Cold Harbor, recoiling from heavy fire. Jeez.
A lot of shit going on here. North of the road, Brigadier General Emory Upton's brigade, Brigadier General David Russell's division, also encountered heavy fire from Brigadier General Thomas Klingman's brigade of the Old Ribs. A sheet of flame, sudden as lightning, red as blood, and so near that it seemed to singe the men's faces, quote unquote. Said somebody.
Some guy. That was describing the heavy fire from Klingman's brigade.
Although Upton tried to rally his men forward, his brigade fell back to its starting position. To Upton's right, the brigade of Colonel William Truex found a gap in the Confederate line. Between the brigades of
caught that drift and busted out for the wind.
Right.
Drift, whatever.
Yep. Between the brigades of Klingman and Brigadier General William Wolford. Through a swampy, brush-filled ravine. That's where they went. As Truex's men charged through the gap, Klingman swung 2 regiments around to face them. Anderson sent in Brigadier General Eppa Hunting's brigade from his Corps Reserve.
Well, Truex became surrounded on 3 sides and was forced to withdraw, although his men brought back hundreds of Georgian prisoners with them.
We're leaving, but we're taking
we're taking these guys with us. While action continued on the southern end of the battlefield, the 3 corps of Hancock, Burnside, and Warren were occupying a 5-mile line that stretched southeast of Bethesda Church, facing the Confederates under A.P. Hill, Breckinridge, and Early. At the border between the 9th and 5th Corps, the division of Major General Thomas Crittenden recently transferred from the west following his poor performance in the Battle of Chickamauga. He occupied a dogleg position with an angle that was parallel to the Shady Grove Road, separated from the 5th Corps by a marsh known as Magnolia Swamp.
2 divisions of Early's Corps, Major General Robert E. Rhodes on the left, Major General John B. Gordon on the right. They used this area as their avenue of approach for an attack that began on 7 p.m. Warren later described this attack as feeler. And despite some initial successes, aided by poor battle management of Crittenden, both rebel probes were repulsed.
Yeah, look at Crittenden just coming back from his failure at Chickamauga, and he's already failing in this shit.
That's crazy stuff, man. At this very same time, Warren's division under Lockwood had become lost, wandering on unfamiliar roads. Despite having dispatched Lockwood explicitly, the 5th Corps commander wrote to Meade, in some uncountable way, Lockwood took his whole division, without my knowing it, away from the left of the line of battle, and turned up dark 2 miles in my rear. and I have not yet got him back. All this time, the firing should have guided him at least.
Right, you would think this guy's hearing just nothing but firing. Like, go to that guy.
He's like, we ain't going that way.
Right.
He is too incompetent. Too high rank leaves us no subordinate place for him.
Wow.
I earnestly beg that he may at once be relieved of duty with this army.
Well, Meade did indeed relieve Lockwood and replace him with Brigadier General Samuel Crawford. By dark,
I wonder what Lockwood's excuse was.
it wasn't reconnaissance.
Right.
They didn't know the roads.
Get out of here. He ain't going that way.
By dark, the fighting had petered out on both ends of the line. The Union assault had cost at 2,200 casualties versus about 1,800 for the Confederates, but some progress had been made.
Yeah, a little bit.
They almost broke the Confederate line, which was now pinned in place with Union entrenchments being dug only yards away.
Oh, shit.
Several of the generals, including Upton and Meade, were furious at Grant for ordering an assault without proper reconnaissance. Right. I mean, come on, Grant, you know better.
Imagine that, dude. 50 yards away. 20 yards away. Somebody's...
You guys are just looking at each other, digging. Like, soon we're just going to be killing each other from this point.
Crazy. 2nd of June. Although the June 1st attacks had been unsuccessful, Meade believed that an attack early on the 2nd of June could succeed if he was able to mass sufficient his forces against an appropriate location. What's an appropriate location? Where they just dug all their stuff all night and now they have to leave that? He and Grant decided to attack Lee's right flank. Anderson's men had been heavily engaged there on the 1st of June, and it seemed unlikely that they found the time to build substantial defenses.
Right, so these guys are still reeling from getting fucked with all day, so maybe they got a weak point going on.
And if this attack succeeded, Lee's right would be driven back into the Chickahominy River. Meade ordered Hancock's 2nd Corps to shift southeast from Totopotomoy,
man.
From Totopotomoy Creek and assume a position to the left of Wright's 6th Corps. Good for him.
Once Hancock was in position, Meade would attack on his left from Old Cold Harbor with 3 Union Corps in line, totaling 35,000 men. They were Hancock's 2nd Corps, Wright's 6th Corps, and Baldy Smith's 18th Corps. Meade also ordered Warren and Burnside to attack Lee's left flank in the morning at all hazards. So we're going right and left, baby. Oh. Convinced at least they finally learned not to just run up the middle like they've got demolished so many times before. Convinced that Lee was moving troops from his left to fortify his right. That's why he did that.
Right.
Hancock's men marched almost all night and arrived too worn out for an immediate attack that morning, though.
Of course.
Grant agreed to let the men rest and postpone the attack until 5 p.m., and then once again postpone it until 4:30 a.m. on June 3rd.
Jeez. Grant and Meade did not give specific orders for the attack, leaving it up to the Corps commanders to decide where they would hit the old rebel lines and how they would coordinate with each other. That might work.
Right.
Knowing your senior commander had to reconnoiter the enemy position.
Yeah, because why would they?
Baldy Smith wrote that he was aghast at the reception of such an order, which proved conclusively the utter absence of any military plan.
Right, they're like, hey, just go in there.
Feel it out, man.
Stupid.
He told his staff that the whole attack was simply an order to slaughter my troops.
Best troops at that.
Robert E. Lee took advantage of the Union delays to bolster his defense.
Of course he did.
Like, all right.
Jeez, when Hancock departed Totopotomoy Creek, Lee was free to shift Breckinridge's division to his far right flank, where he would once again face off with Hancock. Breckinridge drove a small Union force off Turkey Hill, which dominated the southern part of the battlefield. Lee also moved troops from A.P. Hill's 3rd Corps, the divisions of Brigadier Generals William Mahone and Cadmus Wilcock, to support Breckinridge, stationed cavalry under Fitzhugh Lee to guard the Army's right flank. The result was a curving line on low ridges 7 miles long, with the left flank anchored on the Totopotomoy Creek, the right on the Chickahominy River, making any flanking moves impossible.
Right.
You ain't flanking us, baby.
Lee's engineers used their time effectively, constructing the most ingenious defensive configuration the war had ever witnessed. Ooh. Barricades of earth and logs were erected. Artillery was posted with converging fields of fire on every avenue of approach. Jeez. Stakes were driven to the ground to aid gunners' range estimates.
Nice.
A newspaper correspondent, he wrote that the works were intricate, zigzag lines within lines, lines protecting flanks of lines, lines built to enfilade an opposing line. It was a maze of labyrinth of works within works.
Nice, look at them.
Good for you, newspaper correspondent.
Right.
Heavy skirmish lines suppressed any ability of the old bluecoats to determine the strength or exact position of rebel entrenchments.
Although they did not know the details of their objectives, the Union soldiers who had survived the frontal assaults at Spotsylvania Courthouse seemed to be in no doubt as to what they would be up against in the morning.
You ain't kidding.
Grant's aide, Lieutenant Colonel Horace Porter, wrote in his memoirs that he saw many men write in their names on papers that they pinned inside their uniforms so their bodies could be identified. The accuracy of this story is disputed, though, as Porter is the only source.
Right.
But, however, what is true is one blood-spattered diary from a Union soldier found after the battle included a final entry which read, June 3rd, Cold Harbor. I was killed.
Oh, shit.
This dude already knew.
Damn. You can't go in there like that. Of course you're going to die.
It doesn't matter. You knew it. No, nothing you could do to prevent it.
Wow. Dude can tell the freaking future. Crazy. Moving on to June 3rd, man. You got a couple of deadly days.
And this is the worst of them.
4:30 a.m., June 3rd. 3 Union Corps began to advance through a thick ground fog. Massive fire from the old rebel lines quickly caused heavy casualties, and the survivors were pinned down.
Jeez.
Although the results varied in different parts of the line, the overall repulse of the Union advance resulted in the most lopsided casualties since the assault on Mary's Height at the Battle of Fredericksburg in the year of 1862. That's when Lee was still doing good.
The most effective performance of the day was on the Union left flank, where Hancock's corps was able to break through a portion of Breckinridge's front line and drive those defenders out of their entrenchments in hand-to-hand fighting.
Oh, shit.
Several hundred prisoners and 4 guns were captured.
Nice.
However, nearby Confederate artillery was brought to bear on the entrenchments, turning them into a death trap for the Federals.
Oh.
Breckinridge's reserves counterattacked these men from the division of Brigadier General Francis Barlow and drove them off.
Look at that shit. See what artillery work does, bud?
Artillery.
Rebels are like, man,
Where's this been the whole 4 years?
Hancock's other advanced division under Brigadier General John Gibbon became disordered in a swampy ground that could not advance through the heavy Confederate fire. With 2 brigade commanders, Colonels Peter Porter and H. Boyd McKean, they lost as casualties.
Oh, yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Peter Porter
Right.
and McKean.
One of Gibbon's men, complaining of a lack of reconnaissance, wrote this: "We felt it was murder, not war, where at best a very serious mistake had been made."
Yeah, well, both. How about that?
All of it.
In the center, Wright's corps was pinned down by the heavy fire and made little effort to advance further.
Right.
Still recovering from their costly charge on June 1st.
Oh.
Normally aggressive Emory Upton felt that further movement by his division was impracticable.
What?
Confederate defenders in this part of the line were unaware that a serious assault had been made against their position, though.
Oh, see, that's why you got to move, bud. Just attack.
Jeez.
On the Union right, Smith's men advanced through unfavorable terrain and were channeled into 2 ravines. When they emerged in front of the old rebel line, rifle and artillery fire mowed them down.
Jeez, dude, look at, they're coming out of the ravine and they're just getting, oh man, that's just
whack-a-mole.
terrible, right?
Whack a blue coat. A Union officer wrote, "The men bent down as they pushed forward, as if trying, as they were, to breast a tempest. And the files of men went down like rows of blocks of bricks, pushed over by striking against one another."
Jeez.
Domino effect. The Confederate described the carnage of double canister artillery fire as deadly, bloody work.
The artillery fire against Smith's corps was heavier than might have been expected because Warren's 5th Corps to his right was reluctant to advance, and Confederate gunners...
What did you be doing? You
Right,
just watched 700 people get mowed down.
in 2 seconds. And the Confederate gunners in Warren's sectors concentrated on Smith's men instead anyway, so...
Right.
The only activity on the northern end of the field was by Burnside's 9th Corps facing Jubal Early. He launched a powerful assault at 6 a.m. that overran the Confederate skirmishers,
sure.
but mistakenly thought he had pierced the first line of earthworks and halted his corps to regroup before moving on, which he planned for that afternoon, which he didn't. Should have kept pushing forward.
Yeah. 7 a.m. Ulysses S. Grant waking up from a hangover. He advised me.
Right, and everyone went to bed.
Right. He advised me to vigorously exploit any successful part of the assault.
Like, what did we do right? Can we exploit that?
Meade ordered his 3 corps commanders on the left to assault at once, without regard to the movements of the neighboring corps.
All right, well, you guys go on your own pretty
Go.
much.
But all had enough.
Yeah.
Hancock advised against the move. Smith, calling a repetition of the attack a wanton waste of life, refused to advance again.
Good for you guys.
Wright's men increased their rifle fire but stayed in place. 12:30 p.m. Grant conceded that the army was done.
He's like, damn it. He wrote to Meade, The opinion of the Corps commanders not being sanguine of success in case an assault is ordered, you may direct a suspension of further advance for the present.
He's pissed right now.
Right. Union soldiers still pinned down before the Confederate lines begin entrenching, using cups and bayonets to dig, sometimes including bodies of dead comrades as part of their improvised earthworks. You might as well stack them up like sandbags or some shit, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, still serving your country, fella.
Right. They're good for nothing now.
Well, they're good for
that.
blocking you.
Right. Meade inexplicably bragged to his wife the next day that he was in command for the assault.
There's nothing to brag about there, Meade.
But his performance had been poor. Despite orders from Grant that his corps commanders were to examine the ground, the reconnaissance was lax, and Meade failed to supervise them adequately, either before or during the attack. Jeez, he was just like, let him go. He was able to motivate only about 20,000 of his men to attack.
Only about 20,000.
Right. The 2nd Corps and parts of the 18th Corps and the 9th Corps. Failing to achieve the mass he knew he required to succeed.
Right. He needed about 60,000 probably.
His men paid heavily for the poorly coordinated assault. Estimates of casualties that morning are from 3,000 to 7,000 on the Union side, and no more than 1,500 for the old Rebs.
Jeez. Well, Grant commented after the war, I have always regretted that the last assault on Cold Harbor was ever made. I might say the same thing of the assault on the 22nd of May, 1863 at Vicksburg.
Yeah.
At Cold Harbor, no advantage whatever was gained to compensate for the heavy loss we sustained. Indeed, the advantages other than those of relative losses were on the Confederate side. Before that, the Army of Northern Virginia seemed to have acquired a wholesome regard for the courage, endurance, and solid soldierly qualities generally of the Army of the Potomac. They no longer wanted to fight them 1 Confederate to 5 Yanks. Indeed, they seemed to have given up any idea of gaining any advantage of their antagonists in the open field. They had come to much prefer breastworks in their front to the Army of the Potomac. This charge seemed to revive their hopes temporarily, but it was of short duration. The effect upon the Army of the Potomac was the reverse. When we reached the James River, however, all effects of the Battle of Cold Harbor seemed to have disappeared.
Oh, shit.
Ulysses S. Grant, Personal Memoirs.
And he's like, Psh.
He said, yeah,
Like, we good.
by this time, we already got the Confederates where we want them, even though we took heavy losses in this. But the Confederates aren't willing to attack no more. They're just willing just to dig in and defend. Right. That's all they're good for now. Like he said, instead of before early in the war, the Rebs didn't care. They'd have 5,000 men to 26,000 men and just rush into the damn field.
Not anymore.
Not no more.
11 a.m., 3rd June, Confederate Postmaster General John Henniger Reagan. He arrived with a delegation from Richmond. He asked Robert E. Lee, General, if the enemy breaks your line, what reserve have you? Lee provided an animated response. Not a regiment, and that has been my condition ever since the fighting commenced on the Rappahannock. If I shorten my lines to provide a reserve, he will turn me. If I weaken my lines to provide a reserve, he will break them. Modern scholarship has shown Lee had ample reserves unengaged. Oh, really? His comments likely were to persuade Richmond to send more troops.
Right. He's like, I'm going to tell them I have none so they can send me some.
Oh, you know he had some.
Jeez. Let's move on to the waning part of this battle, which is the June 4th to the 12th. Grant and Meade launched no more attacks on the Confederate defenses at Cold Harbor. Two opposing armies faced each other for 9 days of trench warfare, in some places only yards apart.
Right, dude. Crazy.
Sharpshooters worked continuously, killing many.
Oh.
Union artillery bombarded the Confederates with a battery of 8 Coehorn mortars.
Oh.
The Confederates responded by depressing the trail of a 24-pound howitzer and lobbing shells over the Union positions.
Oh, shit.
Although there were no more large-scale attacks, casualty figures for the entire battle were twice as large as from the June 3rd assault alone.
Damn.
Jeez, dude.
The trenches were hot, dusty, miserable.
Bet.
Conditions were worse between the lines, where thousands of wounded Federal soldiers suffered horribly without food, water, or medicinal assistance. Medicinal.
Same thing.
Grant was reluctant to ask for a formal truce that would allow him to recover his wounded, but that would be an acknowledgement he had lost the battle.
Oh, so to fuck these guys that are just literally sitting there with limbs blown off and bleeding out. This dude's a fucking moron.
He and Lee traded notes across the lines from the 5th of June to the 7th without coming to an agreement. And when Grant formally requested a 2-hour cessation of hostilities, it was too late for most of the unfortunate wounded who were now bloated corpse.
Well, Grant, which he should have been, was widely criticized in Northern press for this lapse of judgment.
Shit.
Every corpse I saw was as black as coal. It was not possible to remove them. They were buried where they fell. I saw no live man laying on this ground. The wounded must have suffered horribly before death relieved them, lying there exposed to the blazing southern sun of days and being eaten alive by beetles of nights.
Oh, my goodness.
Union Artillery Officer Frank Wilkeson.
Ooh,
Imagine that scene, dude. They're just, wow, it's so gross.
All right, 4th of June, Grant tightened his lines by moving Burnside's corps behind Mattoquin Creek as a reserve, and then moving Warren leftward to connect with Smith, shorten his lines about 3 miles. On June 6th, Early probed Burnside's new position, but could not advance through the impassable swamps. What are you thinking, Jubal? You know better. You're from this area.
We just probed it.
Grant realized that once again in the campaign, he was in a stalemate with Lee, and additional assaults were not the answer.
Obviously, you're just mowing down men for no reason.
He planned 3 actions to make some headway.
Well, first one, in the Shenandoah Valley, Major General David Hunter was making progress against Confederate forces. Grant hoped that by interdicting Lee's supplies, the Confederate general would be forced to dispatch reinforcements to the valley. Second, June 7th, Grant dispatched his cavalry under Sheridan, which had the divisions of Brigadier Generals David Gregg and Wesley Merritt, to destroy the Virginia Central Railroad near Charlottesville. Good people on both sides. Third, he planned a stealthy operation to withdraw from Lee's front and move across the James River.
Right. Well, Lee reacted to the first 2 actions as Grant had hoped.
Good for him.
He pulled Breckinridge's division from Cold Harbor and sent it toward Lynchburg to Perry Hunter. to Paré Hunter. By June 12th, he followed this by assigning Juba Early permanent command of the 2nd Corps.
Well, good for you, Early.
And sending him to the valley as well. And he sent 2 of his 3 cavalry divisions in pursuit of Sheridan. Like you get some men on horses, and you go follow that Sheridan.
Right.
And this led to the Battle of Trevilian Station.
We'll get that coming up.
However, despite anticipating that Grant might shift across the James, Lee was taken by surprise when it occurred.
He was like, I think he might be. What, he did?
What? 12th of June.
No way.
Right. What?
Fuck's sake.
12th. Sake, give me my horse. Right. On June 12th, the Army of Potomac finally disengaged to march southeast across the James and threaten Petersburg, a crucial rail junction south of Richmond.
Yep. Like I said earlier, the Battle of Cold Harbor was the final victory won by Lee's army during the war. But although part of his forces won the Battle of Crater the following month during the siege of Petersburg, but this did not represent a general engagement between the armies.
Bullshit!
And it's most decisive in terms of casualties as well, this battle was. The Union Army, in attempting the futile assault, lost 10,000 to 13,000 men over 12 days. The battle brought the toll in Union casualties since the beginning of May to a total of more than 52,000.
Damn.
Compared to 33,000 for Lee.
Oh, shit.
Although the cost was great.
But like Grant said, though, there's 50,000 more away, and Lee don't have 33,000.
He's got nothing.
More.
Although the cost was great, Grant's larger army finished the campaign with lower relative casualties than Lee's, though.
There are many authors that estimate the casualties for the major assault on June 3rd, and all agree on approximately 7,000 Union, 1,500 Confederate.
Right.
Gordon Rhea, considered the preeminent modern historian of Grant's Overland Campaign, has examined casualty lists in detail and has published a contrarian view in his 2002 book, Cold Harbor. For the morning assault on June 3rd, he can account for only 3,500 to 4,000 Union killed, wounded, and missing, and estimates that for the entire day, the Union suffered about 6,000 casualties, compared to Lee's 1,000 to 1,500. So it's the same.
But, I mean, right.
Rhea noted that although this was a horrific loss, Grant's main attack on the 3rd was dwarfed by Lee's daily loss at Antietam, Chancellorsville, Pickett's Charge, and Malvern. Yeah, dude, he needed to win all those. Lee did, and he didn't. He couldn't do it. Malvern Hill.
Oh, he won Antietam, I'm pretty sure.
Pickett's Charge.
And,
Chancellorsville.
And won Malvern Hill.
I think he won all of them, but lost a lot.
However, author McPherson states, in that attack ordered by Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant, 50,000 Union soldiers suffered 7,000 casualties, most of them in less than a half an hour. For this mistake, which he admitted, Grant has been branded a butcher, careless of the lives of his men, Cold Harbor has become a symbol of mule-headed futility.
For like 2 days?
At Gettysburg, Lee's men also sustained almost 7,000 casualties in the Pickett-Pettigrew assault, most of them also within a half hour.
Yeah, dude,
Yet,
that was crazy.
This attack is perceived as an example of great courage and honor. This contrast speaks volumes about the comparative images of Grant and Lee, North and South, Union and Confederacy. Right, because when that happened, Lee was revered in the South. Oh, they pushed forward and they fought valiantly. But when Grant does it, oh, fuck Grant, he's a butcher, fuck him.
Pickett's charge, dude, was one of the most gruesome. Oh, my.
Yeah, that happens.
It was just like this last battle.
Clearly, that's kind of why we just read what we read.
He's OP. The battle caused a rise in anti-war sentiment in the northern states. Grant became known as the fumbling butcher for his poor decisions. It also lowered the morale of his remaining troops. But the campaign had served Grant's purpose. As ill-advised as his attack on Cold Harbor was, Lee had lost the initiative and was forced to devote his attention to the defense of Richmond and Petersburg.
Yep, no more planning for attacks there, Lee.
Yep. He beat Grant to Petersburg barely, but spent the remainder of the war defending Richmond behind a fortified trench.
Wow. Although Southerners realized their situation was desperate, they hoped that Lee's stubborn and bloody resistance would have political repercussions by causing Lincoln to lose this upcoming 64 presidential election
Wrong.
to a more peace-friendly candidate.
You thought wrong.
The taking of Atlanta in September dashed these hopes, and the end of the Confederacy was just around the corner.
Yeah, dude. It's been over with. Mm-hmm. During this very battle, Burnett's Tavern, no longer standing, was used as a hospital. Union soldiers carried away all items of value, except for a crystal bowl saved by Mrs. Burnett. Okay.
The compote, right?
Compote?
Must have been value, right?
A compote. It's a soup bowl.
The dessert. Wait.
It's a dessert
Oh, it's
bowl.
a dessert, but the bowl was crystal. So, yeah, I mean, crystal was expensive as shit back then, though. It was probably valuable as fuck.
The Garthright House was also used as a field.
Party on, Garthright.
Thank you, Wayndrith. The exterior of which is now preserved.
Right.
Nice, cool.
The
Just the
exterior. Right. Well, that
Inside.
means you still can't tear down the inside. I guess you could, as long as the walls remain, I guess.
Right. 2008, the Civil War Trust and its partners, they placed the Cold Harbor battlefield on its 10 most endangered battlefields list.
Oh, no. They have an endangered battlefields list.
Well, you can stop it.
Right.
Only
well,
you.
That's because
Only
you can stop endangered battlefields.
Prevent
Well, this is because development pressure in the Richmond area was so great that only about 300 acres of what was once 7,500 acres are currently preserved as part of the Richmond National Battlefield Park.
All right.
Hanover County also maintains a small 50-acre park adjacent to the NPS's Cold Harbor holdings. The trust and its partners have acquired and preserved 250 acres of the battlefield through late 2021.
I mean, 250 acres is pretty damn good.
I think it's good enough, right?
How much you freaking need, man?
Jeez,
We
man.
got to build on it.
We need all 250 acres just to put a land marker that says this battle was fought here.
You got to walk all the way through it and see.
Jeez, if that was the case, the whole fucking state of Virginia would be under perseverance because the whole damn state,
Virginia,
at least
Pennsylvania,
Northern Virginia for sure,
Missouri,
it's crazy, man.
Georgia.
Crazy, and there you go, folks. Like this is pretty much the end of the war.
We got another year left.
I know, but this is pretty much end of the war because
Pretty close.
the Confederates do nothing. Coming up here, speaking of which, we got the Battle of Piedmont, which is part of the Lynchburg campaign, which we mentioned earlier. The Battle of Old River Lake in Arkansas, the Battle of Marietta. We go back to the Atlanta campaign, and then we have that siege of Pittsburgh happening, and then we go to Mississippi. We haven't been to Mississippi in a while. Battle of Bryce's Crossroads.
And this is all happening while
The Cold Harbor is happening. Exactly. Battle of Cynthiana in Kentucky.
Ooh.
And then we got some more Overland and some more Lynchburg campaigns in Virginia. Then we get to that one sinking of the CSS Alabama in France.
Look at that shit.
And then we move through the summer.
On Juneteenth. Wow. That happened on Juneteenth, huh?
The 19th? It did. I mean, we got a lot of battles, but there's a lot of blue that I see in my future. Except for June 9th through July 9th, that whole stretch, Union, that's their most successful stretch of the war, probably.
For the old Rebs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 9 out of 14 they won in that month stretch.
The old Rebs?
Yeah.
Good for them, right?
Good for them. And then they literally do nothing. No, it's not. Blue, 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 blue. Yeah, we got a lot still coming up. just because that was the end of the that was pretty much we just witnessed the end of the Army of Northern Virginia, by the way, guys, because they do nothing but sit there and defend for the whole rest of the year
of an attacking.
Right,
it's a shell of itself.
With that, we'll be back next week for more Battles of the American Civil War. Go check out our YouTube, check out our Spotify, Apple, whatever you listen on. Leave a review. Check out our Discord. Link in the description. And we shall be back for more battles and bloodiness next week. Battles of the American Civil War. We are the Mother Michigan this week.
Bang, dang.